saying it's double dipping because they're getting tax-money taxes besides fiscal disparities. Well, that will put the entire fiscal disparities law in jeopardy as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, we need to call this to order. The camera's rolling.
7:03.
Okay. Let's start with the roll call.
Okay. John Thomas,
Here.
Bill Doty, absent. Roger Stigney,
Here.
Gene Miller here, Mary Amiramati, absent. Dean Broughton,
Here.
Dan Coughlin,
Here.
Dan Freemuth,
Here.
Brad Jenke,
Here.
Dan Lee, Dwayne McCarty,
Here.
Bill Morey, Michelle Sandbeck,
Here.
Corey Schaefer,
Here.
and Bill Werner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, approval of minutes, June 14th, 2001.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we may or may not have a problem. I'm trying to understand. I received in my packet resolution number 2001-01. I don't recall acting on this. And our bylaws require that all resolutions appear in the minutes, the official records.
Well, we did act on it. We discussed it at length. We voted on it as a group, and this is what we adopted.
Well, not a resolution 2001-01, which includes also submissions to the city administrator for posting and so forth, things that were never discussed. We did discuss meeting dates, that's true. However, that goes a step beyond. In fact, it goes into the arguable territory whether this body has the authority or even a moral right to order the city administrator to do anything. I think we've been arguing that separation for many, many months. And now it appears in this resolution without ever having been discussed at the last meeting.
Well, okay, I think those are all relatively reasonable points, but this is a template that's been used for, in the notes I have, at least 5 years. This has been the result of the vote of this commission every time you did it, and this is what the bylaws says to do.
No, I'm sorry, you're wrong. The bylaws say that a resolution must be in the official minutes. If you like, I can read it to you.
Well,
And it's just not reasonable concerns. They're very serious concerns. Adopting a resolution and you the secretary signing it as though it were an official action of this body without the body having ever even debated the resolution in its entirety and specifically as it is written, I think is a very, very serious departure from authority.
Dwayne, I don't know where you're
How can you explain that? Are you saying
this
to me,
resolution is worded precisely as they have been worded for longer than I've been chair.
I reject
As a
that.
result,
I reject that. That's not true.
well, it is true.
Where in the minutes did we decide that we would submit the following dates to the city administrator for posting?
We didn't.
We didn't.
That's,
We never even
We just-
saw Resolution 2001-01 until it was delivered with our minutes.
We
And I'm
just
saying
passed-
that's a serious breach of authority.
we just passed a motion that was made and seconded and adopted by this body for these dates to become our meetings. And our bylaws say that we will, by resolution, deliver that to the city for their posting. And this is how it was done when I joined several times, and this is how I did it last time.
I will say this. In 15 years of elected office, never once in that entire years, and yet at any time, was a resolution brought back, made up by the chairman of the county board or the mayor of the city, having been written in by their own hand, on their own hook, with their own words, having never been debated by the body, and put forward as an official resolution of this body, having been signed by yourself and the secretary. This resolution that you have presented to us as an fait accompli is totally false. And I suggest that you apologize to the commission and that we reject this in its entirety. And if there's going to be a resolution adopted of this type, it ought to be debated in the body and duly and properly adopted. You can't escape that.
I don't see what's the problem with this resolution. It just sets forth the meeting dates that we already decided on at our meeting.
It also sets forth that the following dates are hereby submitted to the city administrator for posting. I would have argued no end that we have argued ourselves for months that the city council and the administrator keep hands off of this commission. Now, we're turning around and we're going to direct the city administrator to do what? Post our meeting minutes? Read
Not
the open
meeting minutes, the meeting dates.
The meeting dates. I'm
Right.
sorry. I meant to say the meeting dates.
Mr. Chair.
And if you, I'm sorry, I have the floor. If you read the open meeting law, you will find that the only thing that is necessary to post these minutes of a regular, a body that meets regularly, is to have it on record at the official place of business. That is to say, if we notify the city that we are going to have our meetings the second Thursday of every month, or if we simply put a single typewritten sheet on that bulletin board listing every one of those meetings for the future 12 months or whatever we decide, that complies with the open meeting law. But at no time would I ever agree that it would be appropriate for us to say that we're going to submit anything from this commission to the city administrator to be posted in any fashion. That's our job. That's our responsibility.
Michelle?
And I'll go back
I
again.
move resolution
I'm sorry.
2001-01.
I'm sorry, I
Go
still
ahead,
have the floor. And I will still say that this resolution was not presented in these exact terms, in this precise form for this body to consider. That this is a hybrid of the meeting minutes that has been put together, I assume, by the chairman and signed by the chairman and the secretary. And to me, that is not Hoyle operation. That isn't even out front. That isn't even open.
Point of inquiry.
Oh, Go ahead.
I guess what my question was, is it was my understanding when that whole motion was discussed, that it was through the end of the year, not through the middle of next year.
It was for a year.
For a year.
Okay, that was, and I may have heard wrong, and that's fine, but that was certainly my understanding of the discussion, that it was through, for the next 6 months. Furthermore, just as a point of information, although I certainly will acknowledge the fact that this may be a standardized type of a presentation for a resolution, that there are 3 members who are completely unaware that this was a standard usage of the resolution. So just to bring that to the attention of the chairman.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move resolution 2001-01.
Michelle has moved resolution 2001-01. Roger seconded it.
No, Bill.
No, Bill seconded it.
I'll third it.
I will accept the responsibility for possibly misunderstanding what should have been done, and I understand your point that this document, as it's typed and now signed, was not viewed in this form by this body. And what you're requesting is that before we sign such a document, you all have an opportunity to see it that are here at the meeting. I will certainly accept that as a due process issue, and we'll make sure it always happens. But that has not always happened in the past. I took the templates and the information I was given and my understanding of the bylaws that requested us to do this way. If we want to change the bylaws, or if you want to debate what they mean we should do, certainly the way the bylaw is, and I'll be happy to read it for everybody's information, the way the bylaws are right now, we are directed by the bylaws to deliver this to the city for posting.
Mr. Chairman, would you read under section 4, after the order of business list, after 7, adjournment? Would you read that out loud, please?
What are you talking about?
In the bylaws, section 4, after item 7, adjournment, there's a final statement
All
in section 4.
resolutions shall be recorded in the minutes
Of the
of
commission.
the commission meetings.
Where is this resolution recorded in our minutes of that meeting?
So the resolution wasn't in those minutes, because it wasn't drafted until after the meeting.
And that's my point. It should have been drafted before the meeting and presented to the body as a resolution for debate and adoption during the meeting. That's the point I'm trying to
If
make.
your point is that it shouldn't have been signed and delivered, I can accept that. That means it should have been brought to this meeting before it was signed and delivered.
Yes, I would agree.
Okay?
But it's
I can
been
accept
signed and
that.
delivered, and as though it were in a fait accompli, and I'm saying it isn't. It isn't even adopted. It isn't even official, and I'm suggesting that you and the secretary should not be signing unofficial documents that have not passed by this commission.
Mr. Chair, there's a motion on the table, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a motion on the table to approve this resolution. Any debate?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would just ask that we refer to Section 6 of the Charter and understand who has the authority under our city charter, our Constitution, to order city staff or to direct city staff in any manner or any situation whatsoever. How would you interpret the charter to mean in terms of how staff will be related with, in terms of how the city operates? What does Chapter 6 mean to you, Mr. Chairman, and anybody else on this commission that is ready to vote and say that we're going to direct the administrator to do anything? Then what does the charter mean? Why did we write it that way? You see, this goes back to my first concern. We're dallying around with the charter, and I, with all due respect, and no offense intended, I understand everybody has to learn. You got to start somewhere. But there are many people on this commission that don't even know what this charter means, and we have failed our responsibility as older members to bring them along and help them out. Yet we're passing these important issues willy-nilly, not even understanding how they relate to the charter, or state law for that matter.
Mr.
And that
Chair,
was the slippery slope that I was talking about some weeks ago.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Yeah.
offer an amendment motion to then strike in the be it resolved paragraph, submitted to the city administrator for, and instead of posting, put post, to drop the ing. So hereby post or posted, and supplant ing
For
with
posting to
ed.
comply. Right here.
Run that by again, please.
Be it resolved that the following dates are hereby posted to comply with the Minnesota open meeting law, with the assumption that it will be posted duly. I believe that certainly addresses the spirit of the well-made concern by Commissioner McCarty.
And then we would strike what?
Simply
Submitted to the city administrator.
submitted to
for-
the city administrator for would be stricken. And then add, drop the ing off of posting and add ed. So it is posted. That is my motion.
I second it.
An amendment to the,
The amendment has to go back, John.
no, the amendment has to be voted on.
First.
The amendment has been made and seconded to amend the resolution that was moved. Any discussion on that amendment?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Are they posted?
as I understand, what we have done is we have stricken the direction to the city staff, administrative staff. And we will be posting our meetings as required under the open meeting law, which requires a single typewritten sheet saying second Thursday of each month, so on and so forth, and put in that bulletin board and you're done. One shot and you're finished. That's all you need to do. As long as it's publicly posted, or even if it's just in public record. I assume we still have a file here at City Hall where our minutes are kept and all of our proceedings are recorded.
They're delivered every month, I would assume that that file
Okay,
exists.
so then even with that in the minutes suffices under the state statute on open meeting law. The only departure you have from that kind of a situation is if you have a special or an emergency meeting. Incidentally, I did happen to bring a copy of the law along if you'd like to see it.
Well, I think we also have to then, if we're going to go down discussing what the right process is, we'll have to at some point deal with our bylaws, which,
The bylaws are fine.
well, the bylaws say that we shall do this by resolution, and we shall deliver it to the city administrator for posting. That's what the bylaws say, which is where I got it from.
Well, we can certainly take care of that.
Yeah, we can take care of that later. I'm not concerned
But
about
my,
it.
my
other than-
concern was more revolving around the fact that it wasn't in the minutes as required by the bylaws. We can do that by taking action per Michelle's motion, and we can stay away from the other buzzsaw by striking the language as Commissioner Coughlin has suggested. And we keep hands off administrative staff in the city of Mounds View.
And we can deal with the bylaws at another day, because we have to anyway.
That's fine.
Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment proposed by Dan Coughlin?
I have a question because of the date on there. Is this posted now? Or has it been? Or is this date reflecting that it's been posted and isn't yet? I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just questioning.
Well, I guess procedurally, as we would think about doing this in the future, we would write a resolution that will say something, and it doesn't make exact sense to me to say that
Well, you have an,
we are hereby posted, that we have hereby posted, when we're signing the resolution. But since this one has actually been posted, I don't have a problem with this one.
I'm assuming that, just for simplicity's sake, that you would just simply post a copy of the resolution as the
that's
statement.
all you need to do.
Now, I think
And that
that
was my
in the
reason for putting the
future,
ED.
I would write it, be it resolved that we hereby post. And we can do that with this one as far as I'm concerned, if that's a friendly amendment.
I would accept that friendly amendment. If the seconder agrees with that.
Oh, it's fine, except that it's unnecessary. If you'll give me just a moment. Notice of meetings. Regular meetings. A schedule of the regular meetings of a public body shall be kept on file at its primary offices. If a public body decides to hold a regular meeting at a time or place different from the time or place stated in its schedule of regular meetings, it shall give the same notice of the meeting that is provided in this section for a special meeting. In other words, if you depart from your regular, normally scheduled meetings, then you must go to the section on special meetings and take some extraordinary steps. However, once you adopt this resolution, that includes all of the dates that you intend to meet for the next year, you have officially given notice of your meetings and you have complied with the open meeting law. You can do it one of two ways. You can do it simply by having it noted in the minutes, and the minutes be on file and available to the public here at City Hall. Or you can post one permanently. That is a meeting schedule. As Commissioner Coughlin suggested, you can post the resolution permanently in the bulletin board, and you will have complied with our responsibilities. We will have complied with our responsibilities under the open meeting law. It's that simple. Under our bylaws, it must also be part of our meeting minutes. Now, I'm more comfortable with doing it this evening with the commission involved and informed, and then make it a part of these meetings minutes, and post it on the bulletin board, and it's all done. We needn't do any more busy work beyond that, unless somebody sees something that I don't see.
And I don't have a problem with the language hereby posted, because hereby posted doesn't have to mean past tense.
That's right.
So I'm okay with the way you amended it originally.
Okay.
Now, my question is what date? I see it's today's date. So
Well, actually, that was the last meeting's date.
Okay.
So-
If we're
That's right.
reconsidering it, then we'd have
So,
to
because we're
adjust
reconsidering it, we
that
should
date.
adopt, we should change the
All
adopted
right.
date
that was my only question.
to adopted this
What date were reflected on?
12th of July.
Now, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would apologize for my enthusiasm, but I know the people on this commission. They're good, decent folks I've known for years. There isn't a clandestine bone in a body in this room, I know that. But I'm hearing things out there, and these are the kinds of situations that keep those things rolling, and we don't deserve that. We deserve much better, because we are good people and we do care about this city. And these kinds of errors just can't be tolerated.
Mr. Chair, where in the bylaws does it say that the city administrator?
Can we put that offline for when we actually modify the bylaws, or?
Well, I'm just wondering where it says that.
It's not there. I think what's happening here is we all have a different set. I know, we had that
Different
problem
set of
before.
bylaws?
Yeah, I think we had that problem before, and the chairman's correct. We ought to just set that aside, and let's all put our bylaws together and see which one is which.
Well, and
It's getting
I have
difficult.
5 different copies of the bylaws.
Yes.
But we did, right after I first was on the commission, we did amend them and make one copy official. So I'll find that and we'll put them on an agenda for reviewing the bylaws in their entirety. I think there's some other problem with them, so if that's okay, I would rather postpone that.
No, yeah.
Because the one I
that's fine
pulled out
with me,
isn't even the
except
current one.
for, on the amendment, if it says in our bylaws that it's supposed to go through the city administrator, then I don't see a problem with this being in here. And then, change the bylaws and then amend it, but that's the only reason why I'm asking. I mean, if it's in the bylaws right now as of this date, then I don't see a problem with the way it's worded.
Well, I believe it is in the set of bylaws I pulled out for my information, and whether or not, I don't have a problem taking it out based on Dwayne's statement, which I agree with, that we probably, as a matter of course, should not be directing city staff in a resolution to do something, especially if we don't need to. And as long as we can just state this hereby is posted and deliver it, that's fine with me, and certainly that's obvious in the law. So,
Well, Mr. Chairman, I will agree with you there. I think we've already established what we feel our relationship with city staff ought to be in terms of propriety. And we need to be very careful of that, so that we not get into those kinds of buzzsaws ever again. But the bylaws in defense of John, I have to say that I have those same 5 copies, and in all honesty, John, I've caught you and myself using 2 different copies at the same meeting, so.
yeah, at the same meeting.
We need to.
But I just
really
reached out and
get that.
grabbed the one I
Yeah.
thought was the right one, and I read the bottom of it, and it
Yeah.
was adopted on June 10th of 1999, which may or may not be the correct one, so I
Sure.
can't even answer that question, not correctly. So I'll leave the bylaws, if everybody's comfortable with it, till another meeting, and we'll try to get them. I don't even know if everybody has a copy, for one thing,
No.
and so that has to be resolved as well.
We vote on the amendment that Dan
Yeah.
presented?
If there's no more discussion on the amendment, hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor, signify by raising their hand. All opposed? The amendment passes. We now have the motion on the floor to adopt resolution number 2001-01, setting our meeting dates for the next year. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I
Yeah.
would just add, just for the record, as I stated previously, that a time off for the summer is what my inclination was, and take up things when everybody's vacation schedules allowed us all to meet as a group. So I will be voting no in regards to this.
Yes?
There was some concern about making the meeting. As a matter of fact, there was someone that said they couldn't make these meetings. And everybody showed up, and I believe Dan was right, that even though he was missing for a long time, things proceeded as normal. And I don't see any reason to take the summer off.
Well, I think it's a very serious charge, I'm sorry, I don't remember the whole speech, but at any rate, that's one thing.
Okay. All those in favor of the resolution, saying aye?
Aye.
Oh, I guess we have to raise our hand for the minutes.
Well, if, it depends on if it's unanimous.
All opposed?
Nay.
Oh, 2 opposed.
That-
that right, 2
okay,
nays?
Yeah, but that process doesn't allow for abstentions if we do it by voice, so. I think we ought to resolve that question right now. I don't know that because we've done it for so long, that we've recorded all the votes in the minutes, we necessarily have to do that. That passes already, by the way, so we have the option to discuss if we want to continue doing that. I'm getting a little bit of discussion of that on emails and phone calls, whether or not we have to vote all the time by hand, or should we just voice vote and change what we put in the minutes? I think we should resolve that issue.
Mr. Chairman, by state law, the only time this body needs to vote a roll call vote is if we are expending funds that are not already budgeted or required by statutory law. See what I'm saying?
According to Section 5 in the bylaws, it says the votes on resolutions, unless unanimous, shall state the number of ayes, nays, and abstentions.
Yeah, that's why we do it in the bylaws.
Oh, okay, that's
But
fine.
But it gets back to the same question with the bylaws.
I'm not saying you can't, I'm saying
Okay.
that's all that's necessary.
Okay, I think until we amend the bylaws, Dan, we probably need to vote by roll call so that she can put it properly in the minutes, and it does say ayes, nays, and abstentions. And so the only way she can do that is if we vote by hand or call the names. So.
So either by division or
Yeah,
or
either by
roll
division or
call,
by roll call.
which are two
And
separate.
division is certainly easier, so let's re-vote on that by division. All those in favor, raised hands.
Well, define division a little clearer. for me.
Division allows the secretary to count the ayes, nays, and abstentions, which is all our bylaws.
Okay, just the way the council does it, the abstentions are usually listed. Like, they know there's 5 people on the council, and the 2 that vote no are listed. They don't vote all those that vote yes.
We don't need to list their names, just how many. We aren't writing down
Quantity.
names, quantity.
Okay.
And the only way we can get a quantity is by division.
Sure, fine.
Okay.
I understand.
All in favor?
What are we voting now? Huh?
Resolution
Is-
2001.
Main-
Re-voting
main
it
motion.
so that she
Okay.
can verify the count.
8,
Opposed?
3.
4.
Oh, was Dan's hand up? Yours?
I was up
I
for
mean,
the
Dean's
yay.
hand?
Yeah.
I was up for the yay,
Dean
sorry.
was, but we don't care who it is, we're just counting. So it passes 8-4. Okay. Now we're back to a discussion of the agenda, which is another, I'm putting myself in the hot seat tonight, but I just did that by accident. I both have the wrong date on the agenda, we can correct that just so everybody knows. I made that mistake. I also, in the unfinished business section,
We
I s-
haven't approved the minutes yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did we even discuss the minutes?
No?
Yeah, I said we were going to approve the minutes when we got into that other debate. Okay, so let's discuss the minutes from June 14th, and then we'll go back to the agenda.
Well, I think the date needs to be changed, we all know that, so today's date is July
No, we're
12th.
talking
No, we're
about
talking
the
about
minutes.
the previous meeting.
Do we have to vote on changing the date here? Have a discussion and all that stuff?
No, we're talking about the minutes of June 14th.
Never mind.
He's kidding.
He's got you by the leg, Gene. Give him a kick.
I'm just, the way the rest of it is going.
Okay, any comment on the minutes from June 14th?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Item 8, under new business, second paragraph. I believe this is not as clear as at least I understood this discussion to be, that the chair had requested that I rescind my motion and come back with a draft. And it wasn't necessarily because you didn't have enough direction, that it was just simply too complex.
I think complexity would be a better statement.
I copied that right from a
I
replay of the minutes.
Yeah, and I probably said enough direction,
Okay.
but I think that certainly.
The spirit of it was
The spirit
more-
of it was that
and that's
I
what I
couldn't
way
get this
understood.
all together from the discussion we had.
I replayed the meeting
Right.
and I tried to get as much of it as I could.
And-
Certainly, the thing was too complex to try to get it all together without more.
It's certainly not a cut on Commissioner Miller's abilities here.
Are there any other,
Did you want to make a change then?
Yes, please.
what would you like us to change it to? The issue was too complex?
That the issue was too complex, and you requested the motion be provided in writing.
Any other comments on the minutes?
Just item 5, my last name is Smith, is misspelled. It's a personal, it's EI instead of IE. It's correct in item 2, but it's incorrect in item 5.
Okay.
Any other comments on the minutes? All those in favor of the minutes as amended, signify by raised hand.
Unanimous.
Okay. Next to my mistakes on the agenda. Like I stated, in unfinished business, the first 20 minutes I put down to discuss adding a header to section 1001 for our comment from May 10th. And then in the fourth item, I gave 30 minutes to discussing removing chapter 10 and/or 11 for the comment of June 14th in Duke Attucks. I realized after I delivered that it doesn't make a lot of sense to amend chapter 10 and then discuss whether we're going to delete it. And so I would request that we either delete one of those items for discussion entirely for tonight or reverse their order.
Mr. Chairman, I would just suggest, we need to make a motion. We can do this by consensus, I think. Replace the first item with Resolution 2001-01 and record it as having been acted upon in that manner. That's what I would suggest. Unless there's a strong
Since we
objection.
spent the 20 minutes doing that, I'm very happy with that.
No, I just strike that first 20 minutes and just put in Resolution 2001-1 as we had just acted upon it. That way it's part of the agenda and
Any discussion on that change? All those in favor of that change?
We didn't
please?
have a motion or a second. He
Well,
just
he said we could do it by
suggested-
do it
consensus.
by consensus. It's
I-
the agenda, for
if
heaven's
there-
sake.
At the discretion of the chair.
If there's nobody that's uncomfortable with that, we can just change the agenda. Right. Okay, we'll just make that change to it. So our agenda is our own agenda, so we aren't bound to it, we can change it ahead. We don't have to make a motion to change our agenda. Okay. I do have a question maybe for some of the people that have been around longer than I have. These agendas are filed at the city and sent out to everybody. And this one has the meeting date wrong. So it's, if somebody goes looking for it by date, would it seem like I should correct it?
File an amended agenda.
Okay. Any other comments on the agenda before I go on with it?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I would move the agenda as you presented it with the addition of a parenthesis under agenda, not modified, give me a word.
Amended.
Amended, thank you. And then you can file it as such, and that'll take care of that.
Okay. Thank you,
good.
Dwayne.
I'd second that. That's a good procedure.
Moved and seconded to file an amended agenda. All those in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Citizens' comments from the floor.
David Janke, 8428 Eastwood Road.
Dave, pull that mic closer to you.
Actually, they'll work just fine. It sounds like a herd of elephants when you're moving.
I'm loud anyway.
Sorry for those viewing at home. Just heard the herd of elephants.
First of all, I was just observing this meeting. I commend Mr. Coughlin there for resolving that issue in 2 minutes, or less than 2 minutes. Beating up quite a bit of time. The other thing is I was appalled, and I watched that meeting also over and over, and I thought, this can't be right. There's a comment made by one of your members that made fun of stealing $2. I was brought up that stealing was totally wrong if it's a quarter, a nickel, or a dollar. And like I said, I just had to come down here, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. I had to make a comment on it. Stealing is stealing, and like I said, look at your tape. I couldn't believe it. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Mr. Chairman, obviously that was directed at my comment about the waste of $1,500 worth of staff time on the basis of a rumor that happened when I was on the council last time around. And the administrator called me and was very upset that his staff was being shortchanged and shorthanded chasing ghosts in the phone bill situation. Now, I am appalled at the theft of a penny, but also having been in retail business for 40 years of my working life, I understand there's a thing called shrink. And you balance shrink against common sense. And you never use $1,500 to chase down a $4 phone bill. That was my point. Not whether or not theft was right or wrong. And as usual, Mr. Janke has put his own spin on things, which I expect. That's his mode. That's fine.
Mr. Chair, I disagree with his statement of $1,500. I disagree with his $4 statement. I think, Dwayne, you've got to go back and look at the record and see how much money was spent.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Robert's rules requires that it to be referred to people as the commissioner that previously spoke and not use formal names whenever possible.
Thank you, David.
Oh, well, then we got to get this really official. I think we should talk a little lower the tone of this thing and getting up this Robert's
Just
rules.
simply as
I
a
think
matter of decorum,
As
as
a point
Mr.
of-
Addix
as a point
had
of order,
mentioned last
we're
week.
also getting into a debate of personal nature, which is really beyond the scope of this meeting. And I think that we can just leave it where it is.
I think the real issue is nobody's going to change my mind because I know what I saw and heard. Nobody's going to change Roger's mind because he knows what he saw and heard.
And so debating
So
it-
what's the point? Why argue it?
Yeah, debating it here is not going to change
Right,
either
then
thing.
I don't
So-
think you should just categorically throw out false figures if you're knowing, either you're unaware of what the right figure is,
Is that
or
your
you're throwing
opinion
out.
on whether or
Mr.
not they're
Chairman.
false?
Can we drop that subject?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I want to spend 10 minutes, if I can, discussing this whole way that I'm doing the documents, the email and the PDF formats.
What's PDF?
PDF is Portable Document Format. It's an acronym in the computer industry for the way that I send this out to email people. And I did get responses from about half of the people I sent it out to that they could read it. And that tool, if it is working for a sufficient number of people, is extremely easy for me to use and very, very affordable and printable. So if it's working and it's fine and everybody's happy with it, I'll just keep doing it that way. But if there are some people who can't read them, I can produce hundreds of different document formats, and I can easily do several. I just need to know who can read them, who can't, what will work better for them. PDF is very easy and very portable, very universal. But if it doesn't work for somebody, I don't want to, I can do something else for them.
Mr. Chair, did you get my email?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
Okay. First one I got fine. I can normally read PDF files. Your second file, either due to length or something, I could never read it no matter when I tried to read it. I don't-
Well, if you're the only one, we'll just take it offline and I'll send something else or try something else. I do want
We
to
can
know
try
that they're
it.
working
I
for
just
people.
wanted to let you know.
Yes, Dwayne?
Adobe Acrobat is on the internet, free of charge. You can download it easily.
Well, I suspect that's what
And you should be able to.
That's what he's
Yeah,
using.
I know I should, and I can some. I just could not read his second file because it was too long.
Do you have Adobe 4.0?
I think so.
You probably do if you have the latest one. You
Yeah,
should be
I
able to
created
read
it with
PDF
4.0,
file.
so. 5.0 is out, but I use 4.0 because most people have it,
Come on, create more problems.
so. Any other comments on the PDF file formats? Did several people get them and they worked that I didn't respond?
All I got was just a little blurb when I pulled up my email. Didn't get anything else. I don't know if it was just the computer I was using or, so I was using my brother's computer.
It should have said in the little note that there was an attachment. Actually, there was 2 attachments.
Yeah, I didn't get those. I just got the little blurb. That
Okay.
was it. It could have been just the computer I was using because it's an older, the computer I was using was very old.
Do you normally have access to a different machine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, let me just send you one of those documents or the amended something, just so that you can take a look at it again.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it completely blanked on responding back to you. I had accessed my email via the web, and that my web-based interface is not reliable. But I haven't opened the PDF files, but received them, and I've never had any problem with PDF.
Okay. So everybody that had the opportunity to look at them, except for Corey and Roger, they worked fine. And does anybody have any desire to see any other format files, or would it make any difference to anybody?
Well, the only comment I would make is that PDF files can at times be bandwidth hogs. And as such, I don't know, I mean, I don't want you to end up having to generate 6 different formats of things. I certainly use Microsoft Word, and if it's in Microsoft Word format, you can certainly open it up with
PDF is
Windows.
generally, unless it's a graphic intensive file, about a 40% reduction over a Word file.
That's, and I'll certainly take your word for it. Every PDF file I've always had has been just a monster.
I shouldn't say PDF in general, the way I'm generating them.
Okay. Well, yeah, I certainly,
I'm using a PDF distiller which does compression.
okay.
And as long as it works for everybody, it's very, very bandwidth limiting. It's very nice for that.
I'm in favor of saving bandwidth.
Okay. Down to the discussion of section 602, subparagraph 3. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped reports of members altogether. Do any members have reports that they would like to give?
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask, maybe is as good as point of any to mention, I think that one of the items that needs to be discussed at a variety of levels here at the city, and I would think the Charter Commission dealing with the founding documents would be a good place to start, would be have a presentation on discussion of human rights in the city, to bring in a lecturer or two and discuss some of the issues involved with racism and bias and such. I think it's just as important as anything else that get discussed. I mean, this document, the charter document, isn't just a fiscal document, it's a founding document. And it's concerned me that even a member of this commission, I had heard a couple of years ago, say that part of the reason that Mounds View is having so many problems is because of all the colored who were moving into town. And that dismayed me at that time, and I have been concerned with bigotry, racism, negativity, and such that has kind of existed below the surface in the town. So I would ask, in fact, I guess I would make a motion that that we add to the next meeting's agenda a presentation on human rights, and I can certainly provide an individual to present that. So that would be my motion.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Okay, the
I
motion,
had the same kind of experience last time around for myself on the council. When we did a particular housing project in Mounds View, I heard those same things and some very appalling statements made.
I've heard the rumors too.
Well, they're not rumors, they were actually statements.
I've heard the rumors of the statements. I wasn't present when the statements were made,
Wow.
so from my perspective, it's still third hand, but I would second this motion too, but I wouldn't do that as the chair, but I appreciate the motion and the second. What I would like to investigate a little is, are we are we going to bring somebody in and discuss it with the desired result of coming up with an amendment to the charter? Or are we just going to discuss it among ourselves so that we have a better feeling for what is proper, so those kind of comments aren't made? I just want to know what the intention is of the motion.
As the motioner, I would express that the primary intent would be to present the information and give this commission the opportunity to consider dealing with the charter. You know, I'm not necessarily saying we should, but allow the body to have the handbook or whatever in front of us to make an informed decision as to whether you want to perceived things in the city warrant addressing it in the charter or not. But a second point, as you also stated, I think is just simply sensitivity to the fact that there are minorities more and more that are moving into the town.
I would be significantly in favor of us making sure this body, because we are a public body, we are broadcast, that we are just not only aware of it, but are very sensitive to the issue, and that we don't make statements, either out of ignorance or out of malice, that would be taken in or out of context to be that kind of derogatory statement. We should not be making those kind of statements. And I'm certainly in favor of us getting any information and presentation that makes us very aware of that situation. So I'm obviously in favor. But I do want to know if we're going to plan on making a charter amendment.
I would
based
leave
on
that to the consent of the
Yeah,
council,
Dwayne.
or to the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I would think that it would be a good idea to have that as a goal. The national, our state constitution, it's not unusual to have the protection of human rights written in the Constitution. Now, I can't say that it's a norm for city charters per se, but I can say that if I ever faced my own naivety or naiveness, however you want to put it, it would have been when we did the Silverview Lakes project, or the Silverview Estates project, for affordable housing. And my heart ached for months over what I heard over the phone, what I heard in conversation, and the things that I came face to face with, the outright blatant racism and bias that it floored me. So I second the motion with the thought that we do something with that in a very positive and forthright manner.
Are you thinking in terms of having a speaker or a discussion leader? or-
Certainly, a speaker would be good, just to have a thumbnail sketch, and recognizing that it's a fairly extensive discussion, or can be. I would ask that the chair make ample time on the agenda accordingly, and have that, if we're going to have that discussion, to have some of the other items maybe considered at the following meeting, just to
Well,
allow for
I don't
proper
have
time
a
to
current agenda for
digest
the
this
next
stuff.
meeting.
Okay.
So we're open to make that agenda
Okay.
or modify it. And
I would just ask for sensitivity that the timing of it, it's a big enough issue that it be allocated enough time to give it proper hearing.
are you talking in terms of 45 minutes or?
I'm, you can have an hour, you could have, I'm thinking an hour and a half would probably be more suited for a discussion along those lines, considering a give and take session included in that, a question and answer session.
I was thinking of presentation time.
Presentation time
followed
of
by-
an hour would be, I think, would be okay.
The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah. Could I ask Commissioner McCarty, would you be in favor of maybe working towards including that in a charter?
I certainly would. If properly and appropriately done, I think it would be a good thing to do. It's not unusual. Our national constitution has many provisions for human
I
rights and
asked
so forth.
that because you're sensitive to making changes, and that's the reason I asked that question.
Well, I think I made it clear that I'm sensitive to making unneeded changes and making it too easy to make changes, but you give me a worthy cause, I'll be the first one to pick up the standard. I think there's a very, very, very basic misunderstanding, and I think we're going to come around to it. It will. It'll happen. Sooner or later, we'll listen and we'll hear what the speaker is saying. And when that day comes, we're going to be well off on our way to a good direction.
I just have a question. Of all, the intent of our document is a charter. The human rights thing is one thing. And I think I question the charter as being the vehicle to convey it in. It's a whole city philosophy. I have nothing against conveying in a city charter, but I'm curious to know of all the city charters in this country, how many have that in there? And if they don't, why are we being the champion of putting it in our charter? What problems do we have in here in Mounds View that just makes it a high priority to deal with right away?
I think that the two former mayors that spoke to the issue have enunciated several specific instances, and having heard quite a bit about them, I have to agree with them, that there have been issues in our city that should not have taken place that make it an important issue.
And do you think putting words in your charter is going to make any change to what some individuals think in the city?
I think every tool that raises awareness, if we deal with it as an issue, it raises awareness.
All right, if it's a real prime issue, then I suggest you bring it before the city council and let them deal with it up at that level. I really think our charter should be really dealing in other areas of establishing procedural things and direction of the city and how we administer the city operation. I have nothing against putting something in on human rights, but at this point in time, I haven't seen really a need for it, as I have never seen it in any other charter. That's why I'm questioning which charters have it, and what specific instance do we have a need for it to do in Mounds View? Would our charter have prevented anything occurring? You're making reference to somebody's comments.
Mr. Chairman, and I think that's where we have a basic disagreement, Roger.
Obviously.
I don't think that the charter, as a constitution per se, that is intended and does indeed in many instances extend the rights of the citizens in a manner that gives them a say in the matters, if you will. Chapter 8 being one that I think was the basis of the charter, Gene, you'll recall, that the citizens under Chapter 8 have the right to petition against unwanted or what they feel or have good sound factual basis to believe are unneeded assessments. And that has worked well. Those human rights of protecting ourselves and protecting our rights to a free existence, if you will, a peaceful existence, that's where human rights comes in. And the basic difference that you and I have, Roger, I think, is you're going to the area of administrative micromanaging through the charter, and I think that's the wrong direction. And of course, that will all be played out as we go along here. The human rights issue, I would rather do it this way. Now, here's what I have done all of my public life. My wife tells me that if I don't get those files out of the basement pretty soon, one of us has to go. But I do keep vociferous notes of everything that I did during public service, and I have kept all my files, and I've found that it's been very helpful as I go along. I kept names, instances, dates. I even have phone recordings, but I'm not about to bear those publicly. We needn't embarrass anybody, in my mind, but we can make a strong statement that will give the council a handle if it should ever happen again.
And if there was something in the charter and this happened when you were mayor, I mean, how would you utilize the charter
I
to
think that
stop
would,
it?
what it does at that point, rather than leaving a single individual council member arguing a moral position, that they now have a charter requirement that is incumbent upon the entire council, and nobody escapes. That, I think, is the important difference.
And I might make a suggestion, Mr. Commissioner, that if you have some language you'd like to put into the charter, why don't you bring it down and have us look at it rather than having somebody take an hour and a half time talking about human rights, because I think everybody's pretty aware of what human rights is. And that's my question, is whether this is the vehicle that we should be putting a lot of time in to do that.
Yeah.
Point of order, as was already expressed by myself, the maker of the motion, the intent is not to get into the details of verbiage of what we should put into the charter. That was not my intent. I did not state we should do anything and put into the charter, just simply to give us the tools and the information needed to make that determination at a later time.
I have two comments on that. One, I want us to be better informed before we start to write any charter amendment on all of the issues. I stated that last month. I made the mistake of trying to go down that road with one resolution already. where we tried to draft something real crude and just work as a body. I think too many of the people were new. Too many of the people were not given the information. I wouldn't say that they had an opportunity and ignored it. They had just, some of them just gotten the charter in its printed form the month before, and the issue wasn't clarified by me or anyone else clearly. So if we're going, that's why I asked the question. If we're going to contemplate writing an amendment, then I want to have this discussion about the issue and a presentation of some kind, and we're going to study it a little bit more before we start to write something down and then try to amend it. But we can't do justice. I don't care whether it's a human rights issue or whether it's amending 602 without discussing it before we start to write it. We have to come to some agreement on what we think is important about this issue. And on an issue like human rights, I'm not going to profess to be the expert. I don't know if one of you is, but I would prefer, if we're going to discuss that issue, that we put it on an agenda and that we discuss it clearly enough that we don't start to draft language from a void. And so if we're going to go down that road, and we'll vote on that, but if we're going to go down that road, we need to have a presentation, we need to make the issues clearly established, we need to look at current state law, which basically we're going to end up referencing. And that would, I agree with it, would take an hour to do that. Yes?
Mr. Chair. I noticed down here on the end of it, we finally get to a discussion of TIF and other finances that the city is going, one of the things that brought me on this charter in the first place. And we spent a lot of time just on the last thing we were working on for the newsletter, the newspaper, and everything else. And if we're going to add more to it, that it should be after some of these concerns first. And not before. It seems as though I'm not, no, never mind, I won't say that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I guess I tend to agree, and that was the point I was trying to bring up. I think he said to put it up for the next
Exactly.
meeting, and I was wondering about prioritizing some of these things we already have on our plate already. I am not against looking at this. I don't know if this is a priority that I care to look at right at this point in time. Matter of fact, I think somebody should really look at the state statute to see what's in there, because we must follow state statute. And are we doing something, spinning our wheels when it's already covered in state statute? I don't know. I'm
Well,
just raising that question.
we do in fact already reference state statutes to make them more apparent, to raise the issue on numerous occasions in both city codes and the charter. So the fact that it may exist doesn't mean we shouldn't make it more obvious. But I do take clearly your point about prioritizing. We discussed that numerous times several months back about how to decide what issues come in what order. And I appreciate your opinion on that, that this may not be the right priority then.
Well, I would just then reference what you aptly stated, Mr. Chairman, that it would be a good idea to have this information as a filter and reference to all of these discussions, just simply of a sensitivity nature. And as such, I think it is something that should be discussed before other items, recognizing that other items will come in due course. We're meeting on a monthly basis now. So, and furthermore, just simply in deference to any invited guest, that on any one of these hot button issues, they could end up being 2 hours long instead of a stated 15 or 20, 30-minute timeline. So it just simply out of courtesy to any invited guest that they have a time specific that they're starting and a time specific that they have in mind that they will probably be ending as well, just simply out of courtesy.
I will say it seems as though some people are trying to stall. We have to get on to more important issues. Sensitivity is, yes, very, very good thing. I think most of us understand it here, but to dedicate time over other things, I don't see it.
And Mr. Chairman, I would just simply state that important issues are in the eye of the beholder, and I think racism is an important issue to be
I
discussed.
wouldn't say that it wasn't.
And Mr. Chairman, I would request a roll call vote on this.
Mr. Chair, may I make a motion of amendment, and that would be that we prioritize the issues that we're dealing with to see in which order we take them, rather than the amendment that's on, or the motion that's on the floor. to
That's
do
not
it at next
germane
meeting.
to that motion.
He has the motion to deal with it at next meeting.
Well, that's true, and if enough people disagree with doing it at the next meeting, that motion will fail. But I don't think a motion to discuss priorities of all of our issues is germane to that motion.
Well, it's germane in this way, is that I have nothing against doing that, and by voting against this, it sounds like I'm against anything human rights. I'm not against human rights, I'm against the priority that we're putting on it for next meeting.
Yeah, and I
that's-
think
that's
you
the
made
deal
that,
that, yeah.
I think you made that clear, and everybody would realize you voted against it, you don't want it next month. And you made it clear that you don't disagree with doing it, so I think that if you don't want it next month, you have to vote against it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would be inclined to vote against it for that very reason, that it's not that timely.
Michelle?
There were 4 people that voted not to have these meetings for July and August. So I would think that we would want to do this when everybody is able to be here. Maybe wait until September, October.
Mr. Chair,
I think
seeing
it's
that that
important
motion
that we do.
had passed, and these are regularly scheduled meetings as per the resolution, I don't believe that that suggestion is germane as well.
Well, certainly isn't germane. You're making the motion, yet you're not going to be here,
Roger.
for one.
Let him say his piece.
No, I said absolutely nothing about being here or not being here. I will be here for the next 10 years or so.
Well, they won't let you do that quite, but close.
Well, I'm a replacement, so I get the full 10
I know,
years.
you get a little, a little grace. Okay. Is there any other comments on this motion to put on next month's agenda, a human rights discussion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would just make a comment for procedural purposes and to help folks along. I remember a vote that the citizens of this city took, and I was totally opposed to it. But when the vote was over, I did what I had to do. It was my responsibility.
Several times, Dwayne.
The vote on our meetings and the dates are over. Now we all get together. Now we all get together.
Okay.
And you all come back now, because
Yeah,
this
you all come
passes.
back now.
We want to talk about this.
Okay. Hearing no more comments on the subject, all those in favor of,
State the motion.
all those in favor of Dan's motion to put
Mr.
on-
Chairman, I have asked for a roll call vote.
Okay.
To add to the next month's meeting, a discussion on human rights.
And Jean will take the roll.
All in favor?
No, you have to call the names.
Oh,
You
call
want
the
the roll
names. Oh, roll call. We've never done this before.
Well, he requested a roll call vote, and that's...
That's what the farmer said when his cow died.
So it makes it sound like we're against human rights.
Okay, John,
Especially with
Yes.
the roll call vote.
Roger,
No,
Jean, yes. Mary,
No.
Dean,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Dan Freemuth,
Yes?
Brad,
No.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Michelle, abstain? All eyes are on you.
Well, I know what it's gonna be, so that's why I'm like, I know what it's gonna be, but I am not going to vote against doing something like this.
no, that wasn't
You're
the
not
point.
voting against
Doing it
doing
next
it.
month.
You're
was
doing-
the vote.
voting against
None of us
next
are against
month.
doing it.
But it's
Next
gonna
month.
pass anyway, so it's gonna look like, and what I'd want is for this meeting to be held in October.
Well, then,
But it's
then
gonna
how
look
can
like
we-
no, and the thing is gonna pass, and it's gonna go next month, and it's gonna look like I don't approve of human rights.
No, that was pointed very clearly. in my
Michelle,
voting
as
no,
long as the
that
conversation
it
is
was
going
for next
random, I'll say to you, vote with your heart and don't worry about appearances.
Yeah.
No.
That's what you gotta do.
Corey
Yes.
and Bill Warner.
No.
5 no. 7 yes. So it passes.
The motion passes. Can you give me some,
I have
Direction.
it's a couple of people who continually contacted me during a previous position here in the city, and I can certainly supply you with those names and numbers as a suggestion, and if the chair has any other ideas, I'd certainly be open to that as well.
okay.
Can I move to postpone that to a later date?
Yes, you can.
Can I move to postpone it to a later date, sometime in October?
Mr. Chairman. No.
You move to postpone,
Postpone that meeting on human rights until a later date.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would rise in opposition to that, again, as stated by the chair, that there is a desire, at least on the chair's part, to have as much information as possible and to more thoughtfully consider any actions taken by this group, not only in the elements of legal discussion, but also simply, being sensitivity and understanding that, this town isn't just populated by white Anglo-Saxon males, at least not anymore. And as such, I think this is a remarkably
Dan,
good
Dan-
time to deal with this.
Dan,
So I'm just
gonna have to
standing in
clarify one thing, because
opposition.
my comments, which you're referring to, weren't talking to necessarily that kind of sensitivity. I see human rights being violated much more between blacks and whites
Well,
and whites.
I certainly understand the
between the
chair's statement, but the point overall, as I understood it, to mean before we start putting pen to paper, that we start to take in and encompass all of this, all aspects of this, and that is why I believe that we need to discuss these elements now in a very timely manner, instead of putting it off and saying, well, TIF issues are more important to discuss
Dwayne?
first than racism.
Okay, thanks. Dwayne?
Michelle
Mr. Chairman, I
will,
think,
So did Dwayne before.
Mr. Chairman, I think in fact that Commissioner Janke's motion is in effect a motion to reconsider. And you can't you can't keep beating the same motion to death over and over under different.
No, actually, it's
Okay.
not, because
I'm
one
just
is an
reconsidering. I
issue
wanna
and one is
talk
a timing.
about it.
Not a reconsider motion.
It's not a reconsider at all, it's a timing issue, so I have to
I
second
want to
it.
talk
Jermaine.
about it, I
Okay.
just
Michelle?
don't think it's timely.
I think that human rights are one of the most important issues that any of us ever discuss or even think about. I happen to be a woman, and I know discrimination. I see it every day. And I'm not saying that I don't think this is important enough to talk about at the next meeting, even the meeting after that. You can talk about it every single meeting. It's that important to me. But there are things that we have been talking about now since I came on in November, and there's been nothing resolved. And I think we need to do that before we have a meeting on something new. We keep adding new things and new things and new things. But I think that we need to postpone this meeting until October. You're gonna take up, an hour of time at the next meeting. And one of the commissioners mentioned at the last meeting that they didn't want the meetings to go past 10 o'clock. How far are we on this so far? We're already over our time limit. And we're talking about something new when we haven't even talked about unfinished business. I think this ought to be something that we postpone until October. It should have been something that we brought up under new business instead of reports of members. This is new business.
Yeah, we're not even sticking to our agenda
And
tonight.
that's the reason
ahead.
that's the reason I raised the question. It's not because I don't want to talk about this, but I think it's a stalling tactic.
Mary?
No, I was concurring with what Michelle was saying. It just seems as though, we have the agenda and we're not even following the agenda as written for this evening. And I might even propose, I think it is a very serious, a very important issue that people have to be aware. I'm aware of it in my day-to-day practice. Maybe we should have a special session just to deal with this issue. And then people could come, but, to stay on track as far as where we're going with what we have
Are
been
you
dealing
making
with
that a
since.
motion? A special session for that? I would second that.
Well, we have a
Not
motion on the
to the
floor.
motion.
I think, Mr.
Roger?
No, that's Bill. Roger.
We're talking, no, we,
Should trade
No,
some-
no.
in this discussion here, we got into racism, and I heard a comment over here that really disturbed me. I'm a white Anglo-Saxon male, and is that racism?
As the commenter is, so it's,
Can I amend my motion?
Yes.
Amend my motion for a special session on this issue?
When?
Anytime that we think it would be
Well,
okay.
We already have that set for next month, so that's fine.
No, if you were to make a motion for a special session off of our regular calendar, you would need to set a date, because otherwise we couldn't post it. I can't post a special meeting for some time.
Just a comment here, as long as you're looking for dates. We had some members that couldn't be here that feel that this is a very important issue. And knowing the weighting of this importance, I think they should be here. So if you could check to see when these people that can't be there can be there, and then we'll make I think we should get that type of date and get as many people as we can from the Charter Commission at one meeting.
As so many times, as I've said, I didn't agree,
This is July.
but the majority rules, and I bend. It's that simple. There's nothing complicated about that. If I had my way, that white elephant across the street wouldn't be sitting there today.
We know that, Dwayne.
But that wasn't my choice.
Okay, Dan.
Okay.
just simply to respond to the comment by a previous commissioner, at the last meeting, I was the person who proposed the idea of limiting the meetings to 10 o'clock. It was argued that we'll go as late as need be to take care of the business that we believe to be germane to that particular evening's discussion. And the motion was summarily defeated. In that same spirit of the majority stating that we'll take whatever time is necessary to deal with the items that are on the agenda, I see no reason why, just as we had at the last meeting with the presenter that took approximately an hour, we still got through the rest of the items on the agenda. And so I would just simply state, if you've set an hour of time for discussion at the beginning of the meeting, that does not preclude any further discussion on any topic under the sun that this commission wishes to add to next meeting's agenda. So I don't see the need to delay such a discussion. Simply, I think it needs to be broached, and I think it needs to be broached in a timely manner.
I guess the one clarification I have to make as a chair is that the comment was brought up, and I have to agree with it now, that comments or reports of members should not have raised this issue. It should have gone under new business, so that we did stay on our agenda.
Well, and I would ask forgiveness of the chair for being unaware of the procedure.
Yeah, and I didn't anticipate that it would be a half hour and take us that far off our agenda to discuss it, but I should have. And we need to maybe define better what reports of members means for future meetings.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
think
sir.
we need to face the fact that most of our problems and most of our conversation, almost always, and maybe I'm being overly critical, and if I'm wrong, I'll stand corrected, I don't remember voting on this agenda. And I think that's the basic problem. We don't know until it hits the mailbox what's going to happen, and it's our own fault as a commission. It's not your fault. You're using your leadership as you see fit to fill a void. I understand that. But it's our responsibility as a commission to set the agenda. We haven't done that yet, so what's the complaint?
Mr. Sheriff.
Yeah, Roger.
The commission established by vote here to direct the chair to put together the agenda that he thought he could deal with on a timely basis for the charter at the next meeting. That's already been established.
I don't recall that.
Well, I think that's before you came on it.
Several times, but we have discussed it
Okay.
in some depth, and we've tried to set priorities for the issues. And I've taken notes from those, which you'll see when I mention it from a meeting, from the main meeting, we should discuss that and that. But I will agree that we should do more to set our agendas as a body than we have. It's just that we've had so much turnover in people that it's been easier for them to ask me to do so.
But I think we're striking on the same note here now, suddenly. What I'm hearing is before you go down the path of human rights issues, you ought to have your act together and do your homework and understand what you're dealing with, and I agree wholeheartedly. So when we get to the TIF issue, those who are in favor of curtailing TIF in the city of Mounds View, I would hope that they have a complete presentation to give and a complete exposure of their knowledge of the TIF law and how it relates to the fiscal disparities law, how it relates to levy limits, and how it relates to a lot of other things. And at the same time, we'll have the city attorney who deals with TIF sitting here as a expert guidance, if you will.
Well,
I think that we have a mistaken notion that our personal knowledge of TIF, at whatever level it may be, will carry the day with TIF when it will not.
We
You
have
better
a
know
role.
what you're talking about.
I think that we are getting
Not
off
really
the
germane to what we're talking about.
Can I amend my motion for a special meeting on the 26th of July at 7 o'clock for the human rights meeting? That's before the next meeting,
I got my calendar. I don't have my calendar with me.
sooner than you want to talk about it, or sooner, that would be sooner than,
I would have to
I don't have my
say,
calendar.
2 weeks. It's a Thursday
I
night.
think, Mr. Chairman, I would think it would be nearly impossible to get an expert in here.
I think it's too
in
short a
that
notice
timeline.
too. I think it would have to be at least
How
a
about-
month or 6 weeks away.
a month or 6 weeks. How about August 26th at 7 o'clock then? Or is that
Isn't that also
Thursday?
Thursday then?
I better check.
I don't have my
It would
calendar.
be August 23rd if we were going to go to the,
August 23rd. August 23rd, 7 o'clock.
Outside of that, or is the original second?
Fourth Thursday of the month, right?
Well, that's going to... Well, this is August 9th.
Mr. Chair, just, Mr. Chairman, simply to speak to this motion, recognizing everyone's varied schedules, and, you know, and obviously, I don't have my calendar in front of me to see whether or not I could even make it, and I was the one that made the initial motion for the next month's meeting, that I would be opposed to setting up a special meeting without having the full input of the membership as to whether or not they would be available. I think
Well,
we
I
have
think
a stated
we've got
schedule.
that right now.
We have a stated schedule of adopted now as of an hour ago that sets forth the dates of the meetings on a monthly basis, and I would think just simply for those people who are viewing at home, who look to watch these meetings and know them to be fixed at a certain date and time, that it would be unfair to have it changed both in regards to the members that aren't here and to the viewing public. Even though we can certainly go out of our way to make a presentation, and get the information out there that there's a special meeting, I think there is a certain number of people who just, for whatever reason, would not be aware of that. I think it's too
I think-
important of an issue to not deal with just as a regularly scheduled meeting where everyone is expecting and has it on their calendar to attend, hopefully.
There's a motion on the floor.
And I'm speaking to that motion.
yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
I think special meetings do have to be posted, don't they?
Yes.
And in addition to that, instead of only spending an hour on the issue, and we all agree that this is a very important issue, we could spend 3 hours.
And I would agree with that
And it's
part of that.
6 weeks away.
It's more notice than we've had for many of our regular meetings lately, but that's I agree that we need some significant notice. I think 6 weeks is enough notice.
And Mr. Chair, many people don't like watching these meetings simply because they're boring. They go on and on. If they knew that this was something that we're going to discuss, and this day, at this time, they might be more apt to watch.
We procedurally have ignored one thing. The maker of the motion amended the motion, and I didn't ask the seconder.
I did.
Yes,
I seconded
Roger
it.
seconded.
I just didn't do that. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to change the human rights discussion from next month to the 23rd of August. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raised hand. All those opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm assuming that you will contact the cable people. They're probably already aware of it, seeing they're in the back room.
Yes. I will
To make
I will have
sure
to
that this
contact more than the
is,
cable people, because I have to also check to see whether this room is available and numerous things.
That came under reports of members, that motion?
The motion came under reports of members.
Well, both of them, Dan's
Yes,
motion.
both
and the
Dan's
motion
and the
stayed.
Are there any other members that want to make reports, and hopefully not motions?
Can I move to adjourn?
I can't
It is
stop you
true.
doing. You know that. Oh, boy.
Wasn't he serious?
I don't know, I try to keep from making that judgment ahead of time. He didn't say he was moving, he just said, can I? And he already knew the answer, so I'm giving him a hard time. Okay.
August 23rd, 7 PM, I assume?
That's what he said.
Pardon?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, that's what he said.
23rd, 7 PM.
Okay, next agenda item is discussing what this body wants to do with section 602 sub 3.
Mr. Chairman, I would renew my motion, as stated at the last meeting in regards to section 602 subdivision 3. I have actually, instead of just simply stating my motion in written form, I would offer as my motion this draft letter for purposes of discussion. That would
Do you have copies you can
encompass.
hand to everybody?
I don't, I ran out of black ink and I ran out of paper at the same time, so.
Roger, can you copy that for us?
Maybe.
I have 2 copies. That's all I have.
Have you made a motion?
This is a motion for this to be considered under the discussion of section
Okay, are we going to
602.
recess for a few minutes?
Certainly
Want to
can.
talk
I'd ask for a 5-minute recess.
Okay,
Second.
so let's recess 5 minutes. Okay, we're back in session.
Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion on this with the following note that in paragraph 5, the third line down, it states 602 subdivision 2, and that should be corrected to reflect subdivision 3. So that is my motion.
Would you state your motion again, please?
That this draft letter be considered to be sent to the city council in response to their request for information regarding chapter 6 subsection 02 subdivision 3.
Has everybody had an opportunity to read the letter? Just for a point of clarification, this letter is not specifically the item on the agenda, but it preceded that item by a request that was made and discussed at our last meeting. And the motion was made in the last meeting and I had it rescinded. And so it is the same subject, it's just this letter was requested as a response to the question of our interpretation of the charters. And because our position was requested, we felt it was reasonable to respond.
And Mr. Chairman, just in the spirit of the motion, recognizing that there was some certain misgivings on your part, just simply to distill discussions down into written form that would reflect the commission's desires and will in the issue, I considered it to be better to actually have language that could be responded to and amended if need be, than to simply state
Which
a motion.
is why I asked you to do that.
Yes.
Because it's, I find that quite a few times over the last 6 months, I've been trying to distill notes from half a dozen conversations and put together something that nobody had seen, like I did with this resolution, but that was a separate case where I followed the notes from many previous meetings. But I take very well the fact that procedurally, we should all view the precise language and have an opportunity to discuss it and amend it before I submit it to anybody. And that's why I asked Dan to do this, and this is that letter. So we have, I just want to make sure that I'm expressing Dan's motive correctly. He drafted this at my request so that we can review it. He's not asking us to accept this the way it is with no discussion. If anybody wants to make changes or motions to change it, feel free.
I would like to second Commissioner Coughlin's motion.
And you're Corey?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, a procedural question. You have one on the floor for discussion. There's one that I feel provides the intent of, the original intent of the charter for the commission that could be discussed here, that Mr. Bill Werner submitted, or Commissioner Werner. And I think it is, provides a greater intent rather than the one that's being submitted here now. How do we go about
Okay.
bringing this into consideration?
Everybody should have a copy of that. And any piece of that you think ought to be in this wording, feel free to make a recommendation that that wording be modified. The motion was made by Dan, and I requested he draft this, which he did. Everybody's comments are welcome, including the ones written, or any unwritten ones.
My comment was a substitution of Mr. Commissioner Werner's.
Well, that certainly could be a motion.
Do I make that motion now? Is it in order?
No, it's, I would say that it is not in order.
It's not in order
There's a motion
without
on the floor with a
discussing
second.
this, because it hasn't been approved yet. I mean, this motion was made, but it hasn't been discussed. So you can't substitute a new motion. You could amend the motion, but you can't substitute a new motion for a motion that's not even passed.
Okay, I think it, in some
Mr.
way, it
Chairman,
has to be
if-
considered.
as
but it
the
has to
maker
be
of the
considered.
motion, I would request first right to speak. And simply, just for those who are possibly watching this at home, I'll just take my first opportunity to speak to this, to just simply read this into the record as my motion, just because everyone watching at home just sees me holding on to this paper. And I'll just read it now, and the letter states as follows. Honorable Mayor and City Council, this letter is a response to your recent request of the Mounds View Charter Commission in regards to our interpretation of Chapter 6, subsection 6.02, subdivision 3. We would like to note for the record that although you have asked the Commission for its opinion on such matters, it is the City Council and its legal counsel that has the authority to interpret the Charter, not the Charter Commission. This fact was confirmed recently by the League of Minnesota Cities Charter expert in his testimony before our Commission. It is the Commission's opinion that in the spirit of the charter section in question is one of public accountability and information. It is not the desire or the goal of the charter or the charter commission membership to seek to impose rigid and bureaucratic rules upon the city council or its staff. The historical context of this particular section of the charter comes from a point in the city's history when there was a perception that the city department heads were not readily accessible to the public to take input and questions from the council or the public. The charter clause in question requires every department head to appear publicly at a regularly scheduled council meeting quarterly, in parentheses, approximately every 3 months, end parentheses. It is the recommendation of this commission that any appearance of a department head before the city council during a 3-month period shall be viewed as an acceptable fulfillment of 602 subdivision 3 of the Mounds View Charter, with the following caveat. Such an appearance is to be noted in advance in the published proposed agenda of the city council so that the members of the public will know when a particular department head will be presenting items at city council meetings. We recognize that department heads are eligible for, quote, comp time, end quote, of an equal amount of time as taken up in appearing before the city council in the evening. Therefore, it is the express desire of this commission to have city staff's efforts focused in on the efficient and professional execution of their duties and not to waste their time with additional appearances at city council meetings if they have already appeared before the council and the public in recent weeks. Final paragraph. In the event that a department head does not appear before the city council to present items for the council's information and consideration, the clerk administrator or their designate should arrange for that department head to appear before the city council to give an update on their department, and in a similar fashion, the council's agenda should publicly note that such a department head will be present at the next meeting of the council, and then included, respectfully submitted, and then I listed the chair of the Charter Commission. That is the sum total of the present text and is what my motion had stated.
That is a motion, it's been seconded. I have a little problem procedurally because we're right back to a situation that I spoke to a few minutes ago about trying to deal with the issue as a motion before we've had a chance as a body to discuss it. What I would rather have done is to have passed this out and discussed its content, and maybe even made several changes to it before it was made a motion. Now what we've done procedurally, we have to vote on it whether we like it or not. Then we have to make motions to change it. So my preference would be that we rescind the motion and the second and discuss this letter a little bit. Maybe make some changes to it, maybe gross changes, cross out a paragraph, put in a new one. I don't really want to drive that. I just don't want to be back where I was with a draft that one of us did and nobody else has had a chance to discuss it. And now we're going to make it whether they like it or not. Dwayne?
Mr. Chairman, I believe Mary was first.
Go ahead, Mary.
Oh, just briefly, I agree, Mr. Chairman. I question, in as much as there is a motion, a second, and now we're discussing this, but not having had the opportunity, other than just the last few minutes, and it may just be a matter of semantics or just saying the same thing but in a different way, but, some of the language in here, the word testimony, I don't feel that the expert who appeared before us last time, he was not testifying. He was not under oath. And as it was read into the record, there's some language or words that are different than actually appear on this document, and I think it would be a lot more helpful to all of us to make sure that the final document, or what is actually adopted as a resolution, we all be firmly in agreement on. And I would think it might be more appropriate to give us a little more time to review this and possibly vote on it at the next council, or the next commission meeting.
I'm not so much worried about the time as the process, that we need to develop a better process for discussing and coming up with a document than having me or Dan or someone draft it and then make it as a motion. Having discussed it quite a bit at length now because of the consternation I've been faced with, how this is working at some other charter commissions that have been doing a great deal of work. I talked with the chair of the Northfield Commission for a while, a couple months ago. And that's one of the reasons I raised the question of subcommittees with Duke Addicts. Subcommittees are used extensively to work on the preparation of an issue's condensation into some kind of proposal before the commission as a whole tries to deal with it. And then they can bring a lot of information, they can study it, and they can work on it, and then they can share that as a subcommittee with the whole commission. But just procedurally, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone until the next meeting.
I don't think postponing it solves the problem. I can't really argue that you're right to make that motion, but it doesn't deal with the issue I'm raising. I don't want to take it off the table. I want to, whatever issue it is we're dealing with, I want procedurally for us to understand that we need to come to some agreement of the whole concept of the issue and what language we want to try to put together before we move it, which then requires us to make a motion to change this letter, make a motion to add a comma, make a motion to change the word testimony to, in part of his presentation. I just don't procedurally want to be faced with having a document we have not yet discussed be a motion. And so I'm really looking for some guidance.
Mr. Chairman, you're hung on the horns of the dilemma with Robert's rules. Robert's rules are very clear that you don't discuss anything until there's a motion before the body.
Well,
And I think
that's simply not true,
Michelle
Dwayne. I've got to correct you there.
Planning Commission.
The subcommittees, and I've worked on numerous of them,
I know.
work on language over and over
They
and
may or
over.
may not, they may or may not
Mr.
comply.
Chairman, in deference to the stated desire to, at the very least, one of the commissioners said just simply to take in the language and read it and reflect upon it. I'd second the motion to postpone until the next meeting. And at that time, I'm still the maker of the motion, and at that time, I will determine whether or not to rescind my motion or not. But I would, at this time, simply second the motion to postpone until the next meeting to a time definite.
I concur. I think that would be a reasonable way of handling this. That would give everybody an opportunity to review it, to possibly make some suggestions. So you would have that input, whether, even though it's not coming from a subcommittee, but anybody who wants to make a statement or add or make suggestions as far as modifications or otherwise can do so at the next meeting prior to the actual vote.
Okay.
Question. Does that mean coming up first, his motion will be dealt with before any alternatives to this letter is presented?
Correct.
Then
But-
I have a problem with that.
Well, okay, procedurally, the motion to postpone it is in order, and it's already been seconded, so that's on the floor. And since we haven't even voted on the motion, that only puts it back at the state that the motion was made, and the maker of the motion's already spoken to it. So it then opens it up for anybody else that wants to speak to it, including the maker of the motion. That's procedurally not debatable. The motion to postpone is debatable. So if anybody wants to speak to that, now's the time.
My question on the postponing was, by being postponed, does that mean that this motion comes up ahead for discussion and vote ahead of any other alternative? Mr. Werner, Commissioner Werner has an alternative here that I think is far preferable to one we're looking at, but that's my own opinion. But I want to know if, by postponing it, does his motion take precedence over Mr. Werner's?
Yes, it does. It already does. The postponing doesn't change that.
And I wish to make a motion for amendment then, a friendly motion, rather than taking yours as priority, that we look at all those before we make a
Just a second, Michelle?
This isn't a motion to change section 602 subdivision 3.
Has nothing to do with it.
Well, it has something to do
No,
with.
no, it has to do with the request that was made before that
request
issue
of
was even raised.
interpretation.
This is a response to the city's request for our interpretation. Has nothing to do with the amendment of 602 sub 3.
But it does have something to do with it.
Well,
because
it's got to do with the
our
issue.
interpretation.
Yeah.
So this is not really changing.
No, this is not a,
This is just,
this is not, doesn't even,
It's not changing.
it doesn't change it, and it doesn't have an effect on a change to it.
but it is just a motion to send this letter
Yes,
to the council.
as a
So if
response to
other-
their question.
If other people wanted to, they could write letters as well, or we're just working with this one letter?
Well, procedurally, I didn't ask anybody else to draft a letter. And I would like to point out that the draft, any drafts of documents that anybody would do are certainly legitimate. They're all legitimate, and they can all be made as motions. And we all will consider them. The wording in this could be incorporated entirely into this,
Yeah, that's,
and/or not entirely, or whatever part of it. And this would still become the document we work from. So both of them are quite in order, and both of them are still valid in their entirety. If we postpone dealing with it to give you all an opportunity to be better familiar with the wording and think about it some more, that's certainly valid.
and I'm just overhearing something that Commissioner McCarty is talking about, and with Robert's rules, this is kind of a guideline. We have a chairman here who basically runs this meeting, and I don't know if you really have to, we have to abide by what you say, not necessarily what is in here.
Well, that's interesting. Our bylaws...
Why should we then throw out Robert's rules?
Just a minute.
Well, he has the final
Okay,
say-so.
No, I don't.
No, he doesn't.
Our bylaws bind me to do my best to abide by Robert's rules. If what I'm doing appears by any member of this commission to be out of order, they have the right to challenge me at any point, and the body can then vote on whether or not I'm out of order. I'm relatively familiar with Robert's rules. I've run several hundred meetings using Robert's rules, but I won't claim to be an expert on them, and I will certainly stand corrected if I'm out of order. But we are bound by our bylaws to make every reasonable attempt to follow Robert's rules. All I'm saying is that Robert's rules says many, many things, which taken out of context, even in Robert's rules, can be very clearly misunderstood. I've been through those classes, and I've watched it done over and over again. I've even watched parliamentarians sit and debate at length which one of them was correct on Robert's rules, and get into an argument that lasted for hours on its own.
And we don't have any parliamentarians here.
But
Well, I think he's essentially designated as to be our parliamentarian to resolve these issues. You're the chair of this.
I am the chair, and I am the parliamentarian to that extent unless I'm challenged. And then you have to vote as a body on whether I'm right or wrong. And I have been found both right and wrong.
Same time.
Probably at the same time. But I don't think that we need to aggressively pursue in this meeting, though I may want to aggressively pursue with Dwayne outside of this meeting, exactly what procedural things he might have to share with me.
Well, no, I just, you just stated you've attended many kinds of seminars on Robert's rules, then perhaps you can explain to me what this means. Rule against chair's participation in debate. If the presiding officer is a member of the society, he has, as an individual, the same rights in debate as any other member, but the impartiality required of the chair in an assembly precludes his exercising these rights while he is presiding. And then, of course, then it says the presiding officer should not enter into discussion of the merits of pending questions unless in rare instances he leaves the chair until the pending business has been disposed of, as described on page 389, 390. I've been through it a couple times myself, John.
Yeah, and I'm
Okay,
well
so
aware of
maybe you
that.
can explain what that means to me. Obviously, you don't agree with me, so maybe, where am I wrong?
Well, I won't say that you're wrong. I will say that that particular question has been raised numerous times. I've heard many, many explanations of it, way beyond the scope of what we'll deal with here. But It has to do with bodies where debate is deliberated from the floor and the debating members are recognized by the chair, not a commission. And specifically in several sections of Robert's Rules, it states that. If you'd like me to find them, I will.
I would appreciate that, but it's not necessary. The point I wish to make is, and I think Mary made a very insightful comment this evening on how we operate. And I realize what my own sins are. I'm not trying to escape responsibility here. But without in a previously adopted agenda, so we all know where we're going, and without some sort of an idea of the appropriate motions within each item of that agenda, we're going to be here doing this each time we meet. We haven't even become close to the bottom of this list.
That's correct.
Because we constantly keep bouncing all over the map because we have no roadmap. The agenda should be set this meeting for next meeting, so we all know what we will be discussing. We'll have plenty of time to research the things that we're interested in, and the appropriate motion should be made before there's any debate or conversation, and the debate should be limited to the motion on the floor. Then you'll move forward, and you'll move forward quickly. And the minutes needn't reflect every conversation that's held. They only need to reflect the motion as it was made and the vote as the motion was disposed. That's all. We could have been out of here an hour ago.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ron.
I'd just like to make the comment, just kind of reiterating a little bit, that this commission decides on how we wish to run our meetings. As my understanding, and this commission has designated our chair as a parliamentarian and the one to put together the meeting for the agenda for the next one. The reason we're not laying it all out ahead of time, there's a lot of issues that aren't resolved yet on what he can find for information to piece things together, and because he was the person willing to raise his hand to do all this suffering and do all, it's a one big heck of a job, and I think John finally realizes it. I think we should, as a commission, grant him the liberty to try to piece together an agenda that he thinks he has enough information to present to the commission on. And I thought that's the way this commission was operating. And if not, then I request that we poll the commission members to see how we want to operate. I firmly am very much against this rigid interpretation of Robert's Rules. I think it should be used as what it was intended to be, a guide to follow. And our chair should run that procedurally, is his best manner in which to conduct our meeting. That's all.
Point of order,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Chairman. We have a motion that discussion has kind of gone a little bit far afield on postponing any consideration of this or any other items until the next meeting. And then as just
No,
simply a caveat,
Not this or any other.
I seconded that.
Okay, not this or any other.
It was
This.
Well, it's this, yes, and then take up anything
Okay.
subservient to
The
that.
motion, Dan is correct, the motion on the floor is to postpone the discussion of the letter to the city council until next meeting. That's been seconded. We should limit debate at this point to that motion. Is there any other debate on that motion?
And my question was that I don't know if I really understood the answer. Will his motion come before this commission before any other discussion is made on any other to vote on? Or is it going to be considered equally with other submissions?
Okay.
As long as it's being postponed to the next meeting?
Procedurally, postponing it does not change its precedent in any way. It has precedence right now. If we take it off the table, it has precedence at that point, just by the nature of the fact that it was already a made and seconded motion. That doesn't change because we postpone it.
Mr. Chairman, I think I can answer Roger's question. I believe I'm tracking with him. There was another offering that came before us this evening, and he's concerned whether the motion before us will sidetrack or in any way deep six this one. These elements can be incorporated as an offered amendment in a future meeting.
Which I already stated.
Okay,
But
so
if-
did I get it right?
But when we take this off the table, so to speak, when we deal with this again, it will be right back exactly where it is right now. If we postpone it, it will be a motion that has already been seconded when we deal with it again. It then certainly will be completely open to any amendment or any changes, and these are all appropriate amendments or changes if we deal with it next month or this month. That doesn't change.
Mr. Chairman, just simply to restate previous comments as to why I seconded the motion to postpone. Simply, I believe that is certainly a point well made, simply allow time to digest not only the one that's present in the motion, but even some of the ancillary things that have been handed out, just so they can be considered in full and contemplated as amendments if some wish to make them.
Okay, in the future, just for a point of clarification, if we attempt to do something like this, I would like a copy of it before, at least a week before the meeting, and I will include it in the packet. So it comes with the agenda, and it can be reviewed ahead of time.
Understood.
Go ahead, Leonard.
Just a procedural thing. In that you've stated that this is being postponed, it's going to take priority on the first reading at the next meeting, over and above any others that are submitted. Would it not be better to table his motion altogether and put it on an equal basis with anything else we wish to bring up for discussion? And if so, then I'll make that motion, but I'd like to clarification on that procedure.
What's the difference between postponing till the next meeting and tabling?
Because his comes up for vote, and it does not, it took away any equal opportunity to present something else. That's, in my view, is looking at it. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I think
I'm
I'm
asking
still
a question.
tracking with you, Roger. That's true, it will come up first for a vote. But this can be incorporated by a simple motion to amend, and it will rise or fall on its own merits, just as this will. And I suspect that there will be more suggestions than this to be incorporated with this, and what this will end up eventually, we don't know. So it really doesn't matter. This is,
Yes, it does matter. You didn't answer my question. If it's tabled, does it put it on an equal basis so this one does not come up for vote ahead of anything else that's presented? That's my question.
If it's tabled to a time certain, no, it makes no change. If it's tabled permanently,
Then anybody can bring it before.
then anything else
The
can come
bylaws.
before it, or it can be ignored forever.
In that case, I make a tabling motion.
You can't do that.
Sure, I can.
No, it's out of order. There's already a motion to postpone.
Tabling takes precedence over postponement.
Not while it comes to floor.
Well, who's got the Roberts, if you're looking at Robert?
you can't use tabling as a weapon in that manner.
No, you can't.
Well, I'll admit, and sometimes I did do it and got away with it.
Well, if the motion to postpone wasn't on the floor, you could. But my
Maybe that's why
interpretation of Robert's
Touche.
Unless challenged, I'm going to state it doesn't supersede a motion in progress that already deals with that issue.
All right, let's just forget what I said.
Wait a minute, you were just saying not to be too rigid with Robert's
Unless it comes down to an issue.
Unless it comes down to my ox.
Okay. With no other discussion on postponing, all those in favor raise their hands. Opposed? Passes unanimous.
I guess we're all right, we can still laugh.
Okay.
Just barely.
Okay.
Oh, golly.
Can I indulge the commission to answer my question before about polling this commission as to having you be the chair and essentially our parliamentarian to run this in the best manner that you know how in interpretation of Robert's rules, rather than everybody else throwing up everything, you know what I mean?
Mr. Chairman, I guess I would add to that, and I'm not opposed to that, is simply the suggestion that on a number of occasions, procedural tidbits have been in question, and at the chair's discretion, add at some point in the future a full-blown discussion of the bylaws. I think that would be a discussion much more germane to the bylaws.
That's already on our future agenda.
Okay. I think all of that should just be wrapped up and incorporated into the written document of this group.
Mr. Chairman, Roger, on the basis of your last comment, have you ever heard of the motion to appeal from the decision of the chair? That's a nasty one.
Well, it's a nasty one when they do it in the legislature.
Well, I'm just saying, there seems to be some difference of opinion as what we really channeled John to do as a commissioner. And if there's new commission members here, I just wanted to get your feeling on it, that it's already been, this power, or what you'd like to call it that, or at least the chairmanship of this, and how to run this meeting to best effectiveness has been delegated, not delegated, but channeled to him. I'm just asking if the commission members, if you would poll them, would agree with that stance. If not, we should resolve that issue.
Well, the Robert's rules specifically states what the chair's role is, and until we amend the bylaws to reflect something other than Robert's rules, I'm just in favor of the chair's own interpretation of his own duties.
Well, that's what we've established. I just want to know, is everybody in agreement with that? You just ask, you guys are the ones that are.
I don't even think you can.
There's a simpler process. There's a simpler process. You needn't change the process as you described it. And
I'm not changing, I'm just.
You needn't change that. I must admit that I was ignorant of that fact, that the chair had been directed sometime before I was reassigned to the commission. And that's fine, but there's a simple remedy to it all. The very first thing you do, and as we always did on the county board, is we move to approve the agenda as it was presented. And at that time, the commissioners had the chance to run down the agenda. If they had any objections, you do it in one fell swoop, in one motion, you're done with a little discussion at the very front end of the meeting. Now you know what your agenda is and you go forward.
Can
We're
I put that on
bouncing.
the agenda?
Pardon?
Don't they do that at council meetings?
In that same spirit, taken directly out of the.
And what it does is it keeps you from bouncing all over and avoiding the
In that way, can I
confusion.
put approval of minutes and agenda as item 3 on our current
I
agenda?
would consent to that.
Sure, at least that way, when you start your meeting, you've decided what you're going to talk about, and then you can move on. We're bouncing around, and I admit, I'm as guilty as anybody. I'm not sure where things should be plugged, because I don't know where these things have been coming from.
So now where are we?
We're at discussion of
Very
section
tired.
602, sub 3.
Mr. Chair, I have another paper here too on 6023. If you want it, I could give it.
Do you have copies already?
I might. I can share with Brad over here if I don't.
Okay. Okay,
I can share with Jim.
I need to argue a little with Dwayne in real time. Dwayne,
Pardon?
would you, just so that we don't get into another debate here on that subject, would you tell me how your view of the chairman presenting information differs from presenting their view of information?
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Well, in many cases, I do offline research, extensive offline research, and I bring something, either written or otherwise, and present it, and many times just verbally, like the day Dan Lee called me and just talked a little bit about 602 because he couldn't be here. So normally, I would just present that as information without taking a position one way or another, without resigning my position as chair to do so.
Roger's right. Robert's rules shouldn't be a hammer. They should be a guide. I agree with that. And even in view of my comments this evening and some of my actions, I have to admit that I'm pretty frustrated. We sit here and go through these same things every meeting, time after time. I've heard it from Michelle, I've heard it from Mary, I've heard it from several commissioners. Brad spoke to the issue. And the reason that's happening is because we're not getting down to where we're going here, and I'm not understanding where this stuff from unfinished business came from. I didn't understand that it was a past practice. And I think we perhaps have struck on some sort of a remedy by saying, all right, first thing we're going to do in these meetings from now on is look at the agenda. And if there's a heartbreak here, then let's talk about it and get it straightened out before we get into these conversations that go nowhere forever. And I take responsibility for my share in that, but I think we all can take a good lesson at that, too.
With that, moving on.
Okay.
Where were we?
Go ahead, Michelle.
I just wanted to say that the notes I used to write this were taken from the last meeting. I watched that meeting and I took pages and pages of notes of what people said. So that's what I used to write this.
I don't, oh, this, okay. Well, this is the same thing as what we have from Commissioner Coughlin and Commissioner Werner, right?
No.
No, this is a,
Oh, this
Change
is
the section.
administrative organization. Okay, this is a totally different, okay.
This is a
Okay.
proposal of a change.
Where's that on the
Basic
agenda?
proposal, this is a discussion of 602 sub 3.
Okay, now I'm following you, okay.
Yeah, it's not
Which
even.
should be a separate agenda item.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, this is what I
this
intended
is
for the
that's on
agenda.
the agenda tonight, isn't it?
Might not have been clear, but it is.
Discuss issues.
Then,
and
yeah,
decide.
I would simply ask the chair as to why I was directed to write this letter if the intent was to simply discuss this.
The letter was simply expected to be in response to the question from
Yeah.
City Council. The agenda item was to work on revising
Okay.
the charter.
Okay, I stand corrected, Mr. Chairman.
But I'll have to admit, clearly, I didn't make that clear in the agenda. It just says discuss this subdivision 602 sub 3.
Well, then, this means that we can strike the requirement that there be council members assigned to departments as liaisons then. I mean, this is all a communication link. The long-term financial plan wouldn't be necessary. There's several things we can take out of the charter with this language. The budgeting process can be taken out. Because if they're gonna come in and report quarterly on things that were already adopted in the budget, the long-term financial plan, and already are well-known by council members via their liaison functions, and the number of meetings, you see, we're not getting at the issue of finances. As we've seen in Commissioner Coughlin's letter this evening, Dan's letter this evening, you pay comp time here, folks, and it's not cheap. So when you have a department head in front of the council on Monday night on a project, and they're there available with a council member sitting up there as their liaison, and they're available with a council member's background for a question about anything, does it make sense to bring them in for additional comp time the meeting after that?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I
It's a
thought
report
we
to the
agreed that we
public.
would discuss this at
Okay,
the following
so the
meeting.
report to the
Okay.
public can't be made?
No? Okay. But I really need to make it clear, I'm not sure, but I'm getting the sense that not everybody still realizes the total difference between the letter, which is a response to a question of our interpretation of the charter, and this, which is a discussion of our intent to amend the charter. And they are quite different issues. And I want to recommend that, and I'm going to direct it mostly at Dwayne, because although I dearly respect his opinion, and he's got a lot of background in the charter itself, for everybody else included though, if we can recommend either that we discuss this as a starting point, or not discuss it as a starting point, without tearing it down or beating it up.
No, I'm just trying to make a point. you know, just-
Point of order, this has already been voted on to be postponed for...
No, it
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. Not at all.
Has been postponed.
Just
Okay.
what he asked.
That's what he asked, and I tried to explain. The letter is a response to a question.
The intent?
Our intent to amend the charter is a totally separate issue.
Then can we at least, for purposes of clarification, seeing that we're posting an amended agenda, add this as a subsection under unfinished business? Because this is
It's
becoming
already
a
there.
discussion topic of its
No,
own.
this is what was intended on the agenda.
Okay.
I mean, I have to beg everybody's difference, I didn't make that clear. But this is exactly what was intended for that 20 minutes of the agenda. Not
Well,
the
then I would
letter.
be agreeable to the chair when submitting an amended agenda to clarify this,
I will.
just simply for record's sake.
But I will point out that if we had looked closely at the wording, I think Dwayne's suggestion that we and we will in the future, approve the agenda, would have made that discussion come up. But it said if we are going to work on, was the agenda item, okay? Which had nothing whatsoever to do with the fact that I had already directed us to do the letter. That wasn't a question, so it should have been somewhat clearer in
That
its
should
full
have been a
context.
separate agenda item.
That should have been a
Or
separate
a
agenda
subset of
item,
this
and I didn't put it on the
Okay.
agenda at all. That was
Understood.
my oversight. But if we had looked at the agenda closer at the beginning, I think that would have become clear and we would have resolved it. Anyway, my intent from our previous discussion, which is what I put on the agenda for, was for us to first decide, do we want to amend section 602 sub 3? If we agree that it needs some clarification, the motion means, I think the motion in order is either we do not want to amend it, or somebody move, we do want to amend it. And once we've decided that question, why should we discuss it for 20 minutes or half an hour if the main body here doesn't want to amend the current language? If the main body does want to amend the current language, then let's discuss it. So the agenda item was to talk about it just enough to understand the issue, and then decide if we're going to work on amending that item. Dwayne?
Well, Mr. Chairman, my attempt wasn't to knock the present, the language presented to us, section 602. The point I'm trying to make is overdue. 2 decades have gone by since we wrote the charter, and we wrote the charter under certain conditions. And Commissioner Doty was right. There was a time, and I don't mean to be unkind, but there was a time when we had a difficult process, or a difficult attempts to converse with or get information from a department head in the city. It was only one at a time. It was a very difficult situation. It was the storm sewer. It was very emotional. You know, you were here. And that's why this was written in. Then as time went along, we began to see, well, wait a minute now. We've got these people in front of us on Monday night on another issue. They're available. If anybody has any question about how far along they are in their long-term financial plan, I suspect that any one of the members of the council could answer that question, or at least they should be able to. And if the public has any interest in that or any questions about it, they can ask the department head at that meeting, providing they know ahead of time that they'll be there, assuming that they read the agenda and understand that if the Public Works Director is going to be there on a project, he'll be available for questions. And what I'm boiling down to is the bottom line of cost. These people don't come as cheaply these days as they used to.
Right.
And that's the real issue. And I'm saying that it ought to be just thrown out of the charter.
The only comment I'll make to that, without trying to take a position, is before I became chair, several people on the council expressed an interest in this subsection because it, in their opinion, was clearly not being done. When I became chair, I didn't argue with them then, I'm not arguing with them now. I'm just saying that opinion was expressed. When I did accept the position as chair, and I came in and talked with Kathleen Miller, the city administrator, quite a bit about issues that she considered important, this was top on her list. And it was expressed as an issue of deep concern because the interpretation of it was currently not being implemented in a manner which she could even determine, was the charter being met or was the charter not being met? And if which or the other, where do we go? And clearly, I told her that we needed to discuss that as a commission. And so we are. But whether it reaches the level requiring revising is up to this body. And this body needs to vote on that issue, and before they vote on that issue, I felt they needed to understand the issue a little better. So we had to talk about it.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that I believe that I said many meetings ago that Councilmember Stigney was entirely correct right to the letter on his interpretation of that requirement. I never denied that. If I committed a sin, then I guess there's always the sinners are always low for that.
It's easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. But at any rate, my attitude after years went along was that